There are two television journalists in Nigeria today, Rufai Oseni and others. Some say he is passionate, others describe him as too feisty. But Rufai Oseni is no doubt one TV host that says it as it is without any embellishments. Rufai was born in his hometown of Odogbolu in Ogun State over 4 decades ago. He is a graduate of the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. He is a man of many parts, a journalist, an investor, an author, a tech enthusiast, a public speaker, and more. He has had speaking engagements in some of the Ivy League universities in the world, including the prestigious University of Cambridge. Before joining AriseTV, Rufai Oseni had worked in various radio and TV stations in Nigeria, including JFM Radio Warri, Unique FM Ilesha, Inspiration FM, Ogun State Radio, and Ogun State Television. As a co-host of the popular AriseTV interview program, The Morning Show, Rufai has carved a niche for himself in the journalistic world. His style is direct and hard-hitting. This has made many political actors loathe him. He has had a runoff with many political actors on live television, including Festus Keyamo, Reno Mokri, and most recently, Ayodele Fayose.
Specifically complained about you and your attack on the people you don't believe in as a politician.
No, I have a right to do my job. You can't complain about me to my colleague.
Excuse me,
that's not
I am
right.
Equally telling you, I know where you are. That's all right of you as well.
Rufai Oseni has also been involved in a few controversies outside the screen. He was once involved in a traffic infraction incident in Lagos in which he accused a police officer of pointing a gun at him and trying to forcefully take his car keys from him.
I will call the government.
He, however, later apologized for the incidents.
I'd like to apologize to all parties over what transpired during the incident with the police when I was stopped for driving on a bus lane.
Besides his tough journalistic and controversial persona, Rufai Oseni has proven himself as a lover of Nigeria and a supporter of young people. As an astute entrepreneur himself, he has helped mentor numerous startups in the country and is helping young entrepreneurs to raise funds for their businesses and advance their careers. He has also given himself to impact knowledge to young Nigerians by volunteering as an English teacher in various campuses of the Open University of Nigeria. With a career in media spanning nearly 2 decades, Rufai recently revealed he became a target for desperate characters for his strong opinions on Nigerian politics.
When people abuse me for doing my job, I don't relent. People have often threatened my life. See all sorts. We were on a call yesterday and somebody was saying, watch your back. And for me...
An established publisher with over 6 books to his credit, Rufai's passion for a better Nigeria finds its way to his books. An example is his book, Inyis, Nigeria's Journey Through Fire. He argues that to make progress as a people, we need to have veritable conversations, and his published works are intended to stir these conversations.
So we're not having the conversations. Look at the Twitter sphere or the Facebook sphere or any other sphere on social media, the armchair critics all around. We're not having the veritable conversations. And that's why I keep writing. And I hope people read.
Prior to the infamous video where he was seen threatening to call the governor on LASTMA officials who stopped him on a BRT lane, Rufai had spoken about LASTMA officials who do nothing about the traffic situation in Lagos.
Look at it. On the bridge. In the morning. You have LASTMA officials that are not clearing the road. You have everybody stuck up on one another. I'd been on a Zumba Mbadiwe since 7:25.
Contrary to what some of his guests on the morning show say, Rufai maintains a genial disposition behind the scenes and on his Twitter handle, spreading love and living his life in good humor. Every generation, depending on the challenges it faces, must find its heroes. generation, facing its unique political challenges, seems to have found its hero in Rufai Oseni.
Your thoughts on this morning?
So as a journalist, I never love to be part of the story because we report the story, but in a time like this, when it's politics, you have to be part of the story. And you see, it's a record. I've got nothing against Bola Tinubu. I love everybody equally because it's my injunction as a Christian to love. I've got nothing against my Egbo, Bayon Onuga, and Mr. Dele Alaki. I love them as professionals in their own fields. But also, the kind of journalism I was taught. Anyway, they abuse me all the time that I'm not a journalist. But I've spent quite so many years in this business. Yeah, I might not look it, but I've done well over 16, going to 17 years. In Lagos alone, I've put in close to 10 years on radio before I came. So I didn't just drop from the skies. I know my stuff. I've worked with the best media brands all over the world. I've also mentored a lot of people in this business. But I think the stress here is objectivity. I will be objective in my coverage of every presidential candidate. And what you cannot fault me for is that I've been objective with all the presidential candidates. Part of the toughest interviews we had here has been with Peter Obi. And trust me, the kind of heat we give to Mr. Peter Obi when he's here, I'm not sure we've been able to interview other presidential candidates.
That way.
On this platform like that.
Yeah.
And that's the level of objectivity. Because you see, they say all sorts about me. They do all sorts. But what I want them to know is that I love them, irrespective of the hatred that is being meted out of me. I'm a child of love. I was conceived in love. They even went further, and thank God Dr. Abati was there. They took a picture of Peter Obi and me and Jandor at my own father's day of tribute. You couldn't even allow my father rest in peace before they brought my father, my dear father, the love of my life, into politics while I was still grieving. And they labeled it a political gathering.
I have the right to respond. Let me
it's not
finish.
personal between the two of us.
You made it personal, so I have the right to respond.
It's not personal.
Okay, so
between the two of us, you can take me out of this.
Mr. Fayashe, I have a right to respond. I do my job
out of this interview so that you can have a free day. Congratulations.
Political party.
Congratulations for doing your job.
Yeah, please.
Congratulations for doing your job. I am not one of those boys, one of those politicians who belong to public domain to talk to anyhow. It is important to note that.
Mr. Fayashe, can we make progress?
Thank you.
This is not a dialogue. This is a conversation.
I'm with you.
Yes, this is a program.
It's a conversation. And let him not get personal.
Yes,
let
Mr.
him
Fayashe.
not get personal on this program.
No,
it's
it's
way.
okay. It's okay. Our job is to ask you questions, you respond. It's not a personal thing.
I told you yesterday, and I mentioned Oseni's name particularly why I avoid Arise Television. And you assured me that you're going to moderate it in a way. Oseni cannot, if it's his job, go for my personality or my person on the live television. I'll give it back to him.
It's okay, Mr. Fayashe. Can we return to the issues? Now, I was going to ask.
Thank you.
Your thoughts on this morning?
So as a journalist, I never love to be part of the story because we report the story, but in a time like this, when it's politics, you have to be part of the story. And you see, it's a record. I've got nothing against Bola Tinubu. I love everybody equally because it's my injunction as a Christian to love. I've got nothing against my Egbo, Bayon Onuga, and Mr. Dele Alaki. I love them as professionals in their own fields. But also, the kind of journalism I was taught. Anyway, they abuse me all the time that I'm not a journalist. But I've spent quite so many years in this business. Yeah, I might not look it, but I've done well over 16, going to 17 years. In Lagos alone, I've put in close to 10 years on radio before I came. So I didn't just drop from the skies. I know my stuff. I've worked with the best media brands all over the world. I've also mentored a lot of people in this business. But I think the stress here is objectivity. I will be objective in my coverage of every presidential candidate. And what you cannot fault me for is that I've been objective with all the presidential candidates. Part of the toughest interviews we had here has been with Peter Obi. And trust me, the kind of heat we give to Mr. Peter Obi when he's here, I'm not sure we've been able to interview other presidential candidates
that way
on this platform like that.
Yeah.
And that's the level of objectivity. Because you see, they say all sorts about me. They do all sorts. But what I want them to know is that I love them, irrespective of the hatred that is being meted out of me. I'm a child of love. I was conceived in love. They even went further, and thank God Dr. Abati was there. They took a picture of Peter Obi and me and Jandor at my own father's day of tribute. You couldn't even allow my father to rest in peace before they brought my father, my dear father, the love of my life, into politics while I was still grieving. And they labeled it a political gathering.
Hello, it is Palm Sunday. On this day, Christians all over the world mark Christ's triumphant entry into Jerusalem. It is also the Sunday before Easter. In Nigeria, people woke up this day digesting the implications of a leaked phone call published by the People's Gazette between the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and Bishop David Oyedepo, the general overseer of the Living Faith Church, otherwise called the Winners' Chapel. On the eve of the election, Peter Obi begged the bishop to support his campaign. The Labour Party's candidate called the presidential election a religious war, to which Bishop Oyedepo agreed. The phone call highlighted the extent of the religious tension that gripped Nigeria ahead of the election, in which the ruling All Progressive Congress Party, APC, offered the country a presidential ticket that had a Muslim presidential candidate and a Muslim vice presidential candidate. Now, let us pause and listen to a part of the video.
To God's intervention.
Amen. Daddy, I need you to speak to the people in the Southwest. Your people in the Southwest and Kwara.
Okay. I've been in touch with Kwara people.
The Christians in the Southwest and Kwara. This is a religious war.
I believe that. You know, I did the release, Nigeria Going Forward.
Yes.
And I'm coming out with the second one today.
Thank you, Daddy.
I wanted it out before when they won't have any time to do damage control.
Thank you, Daddy.
It is 4:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 11:30 a.m. in New York City, 5:30 p.m. in Johannesburg, South Africa, and 7:30 p.m. in Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo. Wherever in the world you're watching us, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. My co-host, Chibo Onoma, is on assignment. Frank Fanon noted, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. This generation of Nigerians, stressed by government failure, societal disintegration, and uncertain future, which has resulted in an immeasurable burden, has found a voice in a TV journalist called Rufai Oseni. Rufai Oseni is a co-host of AriseTV's morning show. He will join us to speak on Nigeria's media coverage of the 2023 elections, Bola Tinubu's impending presidency, and ethnic baiting and its harmful effects. Let's watch and see Rufai doing something he does best. Take a look.
Okay. The dance off of the century. Oh my gosh. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. This is the dance off of the century. Nice. So spry. Nice. Okay.
All right. Rufai. Rufai, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marga. Thank you.
Amazing, what you've accomplished in the few years. I mean, at Arise, I know you've been there for a long time. Welcome to the show. We're happy to have you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Where do we start? For the audience members who are watching, thank you so much for joining us. I just have to start by telling you that Rufai has limited time. So this is not our typical show where we spend 3 hours. So we have to be quick. We have to get to so many questions. And I will talk to him for 20 minutes or so. I will let you guys in to have an opportunity to talk to him. So Rufai, let me start with a big story today in the news, which was Peter Obi's phone call with David Oyedepo of Winners Chapel. What do you make of that?
Okay, so when I saw the phone call, couple of things. Number one, it was a private conversation between two people. It was their private conversation. It was recorded. Who recorded it, we do not know. And apart from that, it was a conversation about stomping for votes. Like every other person do have conversations. And I think there are some legal ramifications around conversations and all of that, private recording of conversations, which people can go into. I'm not a lawyer. But there's been a lot of reaction. The first reaction was from Festus Keyamo that talked about the fact that, hey, the people, he'll even blame even more the religious leaders and all of that. Fadikayade also made a lot of reactions as a result of what happened. The Labour Party also had reactions, but two different reactions. Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo said it was taken out of context and all of that. So which was a confirmation that the conversation actually happened. Because Mr. Debo Onifade has also said, it was fictitious, people arranged, it never happened. So we've got two reactions, from the Labour Party, Kenneth Okonkwo's part and Mr. Onifade. My take on this is pure and simple. We can't build a country where leaders bait according to religion or ethnic baiting. It's not fine. It's not nice. Let's call it spade a spade. People can canvass for votes, but we don't have to say, there's religious war coming or religious Armageddon. No. It's not done. It is not done. Let's say things the way they are.
What does that do to Peter Obi's brand? Because when he is out there, he says, don't vote for me because I'm a Muslim, don't vote for me because I'm an Igbo person. But in private, it appears as if he's saying something different.
So if he's saying something else in private, then he has a lot of answering to do as regards his brand. Because a lot of people ask him that you are saying to a man of God that, it's a religious war. and you're telling him rally the Christians for you, but you're saying no, it's not. So he has a lot of explanation to make.
Well, what would
he's dismissed the audio, but also if they dismiss the audio, a lot of people too are also saying want to have forensic proof that it didn't happen before you can say it didn't happen. But based on what was heard there, I think on other newspaper sites, I think FIG or something took it through deep ware to see that if they were deep fakes, and the result came out that said there were no deep fakes.
No, the fact that the newspaper reached out to Peter Obi's campaign,
Yeah,
and they did not respond, reached out to Oyedepo, and
you didn't respond before now. So it's as pure as simple as that. We cannot have a country where leaders that ought to speak against religious tension and religious baiting are the ones saying, oh, there's a religious war going on. Rally for me because of the religious war. No, we can't have that.
Right. We're going to get
This is not also to undermine those that are talking about the fact that, oh, there was a Muslim ticket. This is not to undermine them, because you also need religious balancing in the country. But we should not have leaders now saying, oh, there's a religious war, so because of that, secure my... No, that's a no-no.
Now, let's look at the election itself, and let's start with the president-elect. What do you think about the whole election, how it turned out?
There were some wins, but a lot of losses. The elections were very sad, very shambolic. This was not what a lot of people expected. Very controversial. I was part of those that kept on advocating for people to go out to vote, because I thought INEC was going to get it right. But they took us way back to square zero. So last week, because I'm a very weird person, how I relax is read. So I like to read commission reports to relax. So I was stressed and I was reading the Waste Commission report to relax. 318 pages. And the Waste Commission report expressly stated that since 1923, the 2007 elections were judged to be the worst. These elections took us back to 2007. The promises INEC made in front of Chatham House were not kept. There was no transmission for the presidential election where everybody looked for. They said they had a glitch. Till date, INEC has not been able to tell us the glitch. The governorship election, violence. And people should stop using the word. There were no pockets of violence. Almost every area was inundated with violence and prior intimidation. So there was prior intimidation. There were town criers ringing bell in the morning that if you are not voting a certain party, don't come out. And there was voter disruption. After voting in some place, they disrupted. So, please, let's not deceive ourselves. Yes, the beavers work well. Yes, we're having some sanity, but you cannot look away from the things that happened. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's say it the way it is.
Now, after the election, now we know that the case is in courts. There are several cases. And people feel that the courts may not rule before 29th of May. What do you think should happen?
The court will not rule before 29th. Bola Tinubu will be sworn in. You know why? Because we don't abide by reports. Always report in 2018. In 2010, 2007, talked about the fact that every election litigation must be completed before the swearing in of the candidates. And the argument in the report then was that it gives unfair advantage of incumbency once the candidate is sworn in. 2007, 2023. How many years is that, sir? I'm bad in math.
Well, I'm not that good, but I think more than 13 years. Yeah, about 13 years.
More than 13 years.
Yeah.
And we've not still implemented what was written in the report. You see, we are not ready as a country.
Past 60
we
years.
Can choose. So, you know, it was part of the wage report that said for ad hoc staff, we should use NYSC. We picked that because it was convenient for us. But the report that say tweak the legal process in such a way that everything legally is completed before swearing in. We didn't take that part of the report.
So what do you think about young people? Yeah. Young people who are now aware of what you just said, that this is the plan to swear in the president-elect, and they are protesting and they are demanding for an interim government.
Let's perish the idea of an interim government. It's not constitutional. Let's not invite anarchy. In Yoruba language, interim, we call it a very slurry name. We call it fidi hair. What it means is you sit down with one part of your butt. Interim government is no good. Perish that idea. It's going to open up the door for all sorts of people to take over, and we might truncate this country. The sad reality is that the youths have to start protesting for judicial reforms, that election cases must be completed before swearing in, like it is done in Kenya. I think Kenya is 2 weeks.
Yes.
We have the recommendation. That's the best you can do. You have a right of protest, but don't forget where your right ends is when the other ones begin. So you cannot stop people from their livelihoods. But as what it is on ground, all right, barring any legal encumbrances, Bola Tinubu will be sworn in. That's it. I like to deal with facts, and those are the facts on ground. So I think part of the fight now for the next 4 years will be how we can change the laws in such a way that you can complete everything about election petition matter before the swearing in. Because it was stated there in the ways recommended. Because you see, we keep forgetting that the ways report was because President Umar Musa Yar'Adua said, I know that the elections that brought me in were fraught with irregularities. He admitted failure. And he said, let me give Nigerians a legacy. Just like the way report also talks about, special offenses, election offenses prosecution that we have not really done. So that's what's on ground as we speak today. But please, any idea of an interim government? No. Because you can know the beginning, but you don't know the end. And we all remember where it took us in 1993. And on the 11th of November, 1993, Justice, what's her name now? I think Dolapo Akinsanya, if my memory serves me right, gave a court ruling that says the interim government that was done by Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida was illegal. And there's no judgment that overrules that judgment as we speak today. So based on the laws of our land, interim government is illegal.
Okay, so let's look at the president-elect. Where is he? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not his minders.
Now, as a media practitioner in Nigeria, do you think he left the country without the media knowing where he went to? How is that possible?
He left the country, then his people issued a report that he was going to be in France, then he was going to be in Saudi Arabia, he was going to be in London.
That was after Sahara published that he left.
That was after Sahara published the report. They've also brought a couple of pictures and all of that. But I keep telling people, accountability is what builds a nation. All I call for is accountability. His minder says in Paris. They've shared a couple of videos. It's in Paris and all of that.
3 seconds video.
3 seconds video. They shared a couple of pictures of him. I think I saw one the other day of him eating. That's where his mind is at. But I keep telling us, it is accountability that can build a nation. We must be accountable beyond board. And that's why prior to the elections, I kept on pushing that every presidential candidate must give us a health declaration. Till today, we didn't know what affected Umar Musa Yar'Adua. I think I read somewhere it was Strong-Strauss syndrome. Whatever it is, like it's done in other parts of the world, for the sake of accountability, once you're in the public, tax returns, health records, other files that people need to know about you needs to be out there. It's as simple as that.
Now for someone like Bola Tinubu, let me show you this. Let's look at this picture, if you can see it. This is a news story from The Guardian newspaper of October 15th, 1998. In this news story, it says here, first line, that he was 52. He was 52 in 1998. And he's been celebrating, just 2 days ago, he celebrated his 71st birthday. How does all these things fit into what you talk about accountability and the personality of our president-elect?
You see, you remember what first made me come into notoriety? Go and watch the interview, late January 2022, with Abdulmumin Jubrin, and I asked a question. I said, how old is Bola Tinubu? And Abdulmumin Jubrin, that was a surrogate then, was pushing it away, couldn't speak. It was a big accountability question. I think the APC campaign will need to react to this that is picked up. If a man in this interview started as 52 and it says it's 71 now, then explanation needs to come. And that's why we keep talking about accountability. Because you see, we forget that the world is watching us. After our elections, all the foreign media wrote damning things about our election process. Damning things. The world is watching us. And that's why it is accountability that should be our watchword. It's as simple as that. So this is a work of investigative journalism brought out there. We would like to see the reaction, to be able to balance the story as regards the age. Because we've seen a lot of discrepancy. Apart from only this one, I'm sure you remember T-Mac said he was 86 at a point. So there are variations as we speak now. You remember when T-Mac granted an interview? Yeah, T-Mac says I think it's related to his wife. He said 87.
Yeah.
So we've had like different variations as we speak today.
Now,
so which one?
His supporters are saying that these things are not important.
No, they are important too. No. That I will not take. No. Please, let's not say that. I will not take.
That's what they are saying. And I wanted to
see
explain to them
what they say is not a determinant of how I can think. You can't tell me I'm a fool and I will accept that I'm a fool. No. You can't tell me how to think because my thinking doesn't favor you. My rational, logical thinking says I must ask questions and provide me answers. And let me use my logical input to be able to evaluate the answers. So I can't take when somebody says questions about age, schools gone to, and all those things. Accountability questions are not important. Then if they say that, then it's as good as saying that there's no need for every Nigerian to get a passport now if you want to travel abroad. You can just fly. No, we must ask accountable questions. It's as simple as that.
Okay, So let's look at what's going on now. So we are facing this situation where we have a president elect and a case in court, and like you said, it's likely that he's going to be sworn in on the 29th of May, unless the courts rule before then.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens after that? What do you think will happen after that?
Go and read the Constitution, Ogami. The Nigerian president is a monarchy. Let's not deceive ourselves. Once he's sworn in, he assumes monarchical powers. I don't like to deceive myself. That's what happens next. Like every Nigerian president has always assumed. Once he's sworn in, he assumes monarchical powers. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Now,
a Nigerian president is what the Yorubas call kabiyesi. You can hardly question it. Can you see? And that's why people should please also be active in terms of not politics alone, but matters of constitutional reform. Do you see recently there was a bill sent to President Muhammadu Buhari that he failed to assent to?
Yeah.
The bill about the National Assembly having the powers to summon the president. And he struck that out. I thought that was going to make a lot of Nigerian protests on the streets, but a lot of them didn't get it. And that's why we need to keep giving this information to Nigerians. That a president is saying nobody can question me. And even the National Assembly, the representative of the people cannot question me. You see what's happening in other countries of the world now. See what's happening in Israel.
South Africa.
Yeah, see what's happening in France.
Now, let's get to Lagos, where you are. I think you're in Lagos. Yeah, you're in Lagos. Let's get to Lagos. What happened during the election? The one for the governors and the one for the state's House of Assemblies. What is your take on that?
You know, we had a VHS movie back in the days, and I like that movie so much. It was named 3 Japanese words. It was called Tora, Tora, Tora. War, war, war. I'm sure you remember the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was needless. Ethnic baiting, ethnic manipulation, ethnic fights, people getting beat. It was needless. It was too much. A lot of blood. It was so sad. A lot of it. It was needless. And I keep asking, all of this was for power? But you see, the good thing about Nigeria is that we when we look at things, we have a heart to heal. But you must not say because you can heal, you must take people for granted. One of my favorite musicians, Bono of YouTube, will always say, not every broken heart mends. And we should be careful.
But it appears as if this one is not healing, because we see what has happened since then. So there is recently this incidence of burning of markets in Lagos, and people see that as a continuation of the election and how it was they handled the election. What do you think about this and the reaction to that burning of markets in Lagos?
I'm sad about the markets getting burnt almost every time in Lagos. And please, investigations must happen. Must bring culprits to book. Look at that Akiri market. People were hooded that came to shoot and kill and burn the markets. That was an arsonist attack. So is it that the police cannot investigate and bring them out? No, we can't just look that way and look the other way. And in terms of healing, you see, our leaders must remember that peace, harmony, restitution, and reconciliation should be the way forward. Nobody leads forever. You can't continue to perpetrate injustices forever. And they must do what is right. And that's why we keep calling on them to cool down the narrative. All the saber rattling. The ones they said before election. And the security authorities too must stand tall. MC Oluomo said all sorts. And he's walking free today like he never said anything. We've heard a lot of things so much.
That's what I want to get to specific names and what they did. MC Oluomo is one of them, and we have Bayo Ononuga.
Oh, yes. It tweeted so much. Bayo Onuga said that this should be the last time Igbos will put their mouths in Lagos politics. Igbos that have been living in peace and harmony in Lagos since God knows when, the 1800s or the 1900s. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Because of politics. Because of politics. And please, people should see beyond all the shenanigans of these politicians. They just look for a narrative to rile people up. If you couldn't do well for your people and you're not sure of their vote, say it. Why do you use ethnic sentiments? So people should watch it and eschew violence and get on the path of peace, because we can't build a society this way. It's as simple as that. We can't.
Do you know Bayo personally? As do you know him, and what happened?
I met him the other day once, and I just said hi, hello to you. Know me, I'm hardly sociable. I hardly go out. I just, it was a journalist. Another top journalist was having a birthday, and I met him, and so I just shook hands with him and said, "Good evening, sir. Good evening," and we greeted, and that's it. That's the only conversation. And I didn't even stay long at the event. I don't know him one-on-one.
What about Femi Fani-Kayode? Do you know him?
Never met him one-on-one. Never even interviewed him before. But I'd like to see him come on my show. Let's talk. Let's spar. Let's see how it goes. I mean, there are questions that need to be asked. I like a good intellectual spar on our shows. That's it. I've never met him one-on-one. But when you look at it deeply, let's just say the truth. Let's not say it because it favors us. All of the things he was going to say online are needless. Even with the spat with the British envoy, all of those things are needless. All of those things are needless. But a lot of people have been referring to his tweet in 2018, and they keep asking what changed. So in the end, these people do this for politics. And let's not allow us, the people, to be used. Because look at all the Agbero they used. Are the people living in poverty and penury today?
But it's dangerous. Don't you think it's dangerous what they say?
Oh, yes. But they forget. You see, people that do things like this forget that what you mock will surely overtake you. I'm quoting Bono again. I'm such a big fan of you too. He said, "What you mock will surely overtake you, and you become a monster. Pray that the monster will not break you." Remember Victor Frankenstein now? You are using them now because it favors you. But these Frankenstein monsters, these young children that you ought to educate and make better and transform their life positive, one day they will rise up like the Frankenstein monster. We are building a bad society. I don't like deceiving man. We are building a very bad society. We are building a bad society. We are having militia groups, replica of the likes of the Tonton Makut of Papa Doc Duvalier. That's what we are having. Yes. It's sad. We can't build a society this way. All sorts of boys attacking people, breaking homes. No, now. We need to rein those boys off the streets. And politicians should stop using them to gain advantage for themselves. Because you see, the truth has to be said. When they are stealing money and they are sharing our commonwealth, they don't think of who is Igbo or Yoruba. It's when they want to perpetrate their nefarious act, they remind you of your division. Can't you see that all tribes are united in corruption? Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani, Ibibio, Efik, Ijo, Nupe, everybody united in corruption. When two people want to be corrupt, when they want to swindle government officials and take government coffers money, they don't ask you what tribe are you. But when they want to divide people, they do all sorts. We can't keep building a societal Frankenstein. A Frankenstein monster. That's what we are doing. Because it favors you today. No. Please. Let's give peace a chance. Let's rebuild our society. Let's live a life of forthrightness.
Yeah, I must mention the fact that because of what happened during the election, and then we saw fire burning down markets in Lagos. We also saw an Igbo chief who said that he will bring in IPOB to come and protect the market. And
Highly
then,
condemnable.
sorry?
Highly condemnable.
Yeah. But again, the next day, he was arrested. What do you make of that?
And that's the sad reality. Next day was arrested, but MC Oluomo that said the things he said, you even had the police official come to say the next day, because he released a video and said, Mama Shukudi, they were joking, that it was a joke. You see the imbalance, the unfairness. It is fairness that can build our society. That's what a lot of people are asking. The other day, they asked the Lagos State Deputy Governor on television. He said if MC Oluomo broke the law, he should be apprehended. So what MC Oluomo said was not inciting. What society are we building? Why do we deceive ourselves too much? Highly condemnable. Like I condemn any attempts in the plane to try to stall the plane and do all sorts. Those shenanigans, no. We shouldn't do all that. But let's be fair to one another.
Do you think that someone like Onanoga and Femi Fani-Kayode should be part of Tinubu's government?
Tinubu has the right to make his own decisions. What I will say as regards Onanoga and Fani-Kayode and Tinubu making his decisions are immaterial, but truth has to be told. People must be made accountable for the things they say. So it is the accountability that we must demand from Onanoga and Fani-Kayode based on what they say that matters. But the question is, where are the societal institutions that will enforce it when we keep doing pick and choose? Yes. So I'm sure a lot of people will tell me now that whatever MC Oluomo said was not inciting, right? Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's build a society that is fair.
Now, let's get to your work, what you do. How is it going at AriseTV?
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying logic. What I do every morning is just try to weigh and espouse logical dispositions. That's all I do. Irrational questioning. That's all I do. Because you see, logic is the fundamental of everything in society. It is a logic that is behind the science that makes us to be able to do teleconference as we speak. 100 years ago, was this logically possible? No. But once we keep breaking the bounds of logic, we keep getting better. So all I do every morning is to keep questioning people based on logic and say, you are going to do this. How are you going to do it? What did you do with the resource you had before? How can we make it better? So I want to learn. But you see, we live in a society where a lot of people don't like logic. You know why? Because they have always thrived on illogicality. So in a society where you try to espouse logic and people have always thrived on illogicality, they will push back. They will scream and they will say you are partisan, they will abuse you. For me, I've always learned that once your logic is weak, you resort to abuses.
You've been receiving death threats.
Yes.
Why?
I receive death threats because I'm trying to espouse logic. And for me, my capacity to espouse logic, you can't stop it. Death threats, how do I deal with it logically? The truth has to be said.
How is the sorry?
What? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say, how is the management of AriseTV? How are they? Their reaction to the journalism you practice and the way you do it?
See, the thing about Arise, a lot of people didn't know is our strength is based on the logical arguments. we make amongst ourselves. And every morning we always want to put the best logic forward. So there's no spin, there's no agenda. That's why you see that we can easily challenge the logic of each other. We want to get the better logic forward. It's not about any spin. We want to do rigor. Logic backed up with facts-based, evidence-based analysis, rigor and research, to be able to improve the role of logic in society. That's just what we do. But you see, because society has been conditioned to be very logical, it's not illogical for somebody to tell you, for Madam Philomena to tell you that snakes swallow money when they stole it. So in society like that, when you espouse logic, they'll become illogical and abuse you and say you're stupid, you are mad. So for me, anybody that abuses me, I tell them, give me a better logic. But when your logic is weak, you resort to abuse and blackmail. Like the person the other day that was saying he knows where I am, where I follow and today. It's when people don't have a strong logic, they resort to abuses and blackmail.
Now, someone said to me when you were coming that you and Dr. Abati, that you are the bad cop and Dr. Abati is the good cop. That's the template. Is there anything like that?
No, it's not. There's no template. We don't plan it. No. We don't plan it. Questioning styles differ. He has his own style.
Who will you say is the? I let the audience to come in. They will kill me if I don't give them a chance to talk to you. Who will you say is the worst guest that you've had?
So for me, as long as I espouse logic, I don't take a glossary of how debilitating the logic espoused by the guest was. I don't take a glossary. As long as I espouse logic and there's a logical interaction. So I don't have worst or best. Yeah, you can say some people are like the Phantom of the Opera, like Andrew Lloyd Webber. Yeah, but definitely you have dramatic personnel here and there. But I don't take it to heart. Because I see a lot of very funny people. People don't know me. I'm a very happy, loving person that is more passionate about humanity than anything. So people have called me sadist. They say I don't have a life. I look at them and say, you think my life is only about thinking about my interviews for the day? Never. I do my work, but I also interact with people. I used to do a show on Lagos that one of the most listened to radio shows, sharing life issues, and the Sunday morning show on Inspiration FM. My records are there. I help raise money for people's surgery. I help uplift people. That's my life. Thousands of people, I gave them money of my own on the radio. Out of the little I have, I reach out. I bless people. I want to see people do well. That's my passion. This I am doing because I also want to espouse logic, because the disposition of the leadership can also help settle most of the challenges in the society. And that's why we must interrogate. So I've got no hate in me to be thinking about the worst show and the best shows. No. Every show for me is good or bad.
Now, I know you reach out to people, you are connected to young people. What about the veterans? I know you've been there for 16 or 17 years in journalism, but the older generation, what do they think about your style?
Some of them appreciate, some of them don't appreciate. People have a prerogative of choice. That's their prerogative. But I love them. When I see them, I reach out to them. Some of them will even come out and tell me, I say, Rufai, the reason why I don't appreciate you is because, I'm not aligned to people that are against you. I've had people that came to tell me that, Rufai, I said, last year, before politics started, I was your biggest fan, but I'm no longer your fan. Everybody has a disposition of choice. And I don't fault people for their choices they make. But for me, the question I ask myself every time is, am I able to fashion a better logical thinking? If I'm not, I will keep working at it. And that's just for me. So the capacity to be able to work is what endears me to the job. And I always want to learn. I want to have a spa, an intellectual spa. I want to learn from people. The capacity to be able to work, research. Yes, I'm one of those your weird people. I like research. So there's some things come to me naturally. I can sit on the point and read books for 4 hours and research and don't get off the spot. So I like to work. I like the rigor.
All right.
So,
I still have a lot of questions, but I can let me just get people in to just say a few things to you and talk to you, and then I know you're short of time, you have to go, but let's just do that. Do you want one person at a time, or you want to take multiple questions at once?
Double me, multiple.
Okay. All right. So please, when I call you, please just go straight to the question. We don't have a lot of time, and I will start with you, Forefathers. You're next first.
Yeah, thank you, Rudolf, for having me here, and thank you for coming in, Journalist Oseni. I've listened to you talk on the media, and I must say you are one of the few hopes we've got out there. You guys are basically the leaders in the country before, during, and after the election. You have managed to, advise people and get people to see the reason with what is going on. However, since you believe in logic, I don't want to dwell on these issues because for me, I look at something different, which is why our nation is where it is. And I worry that many of our journalists have been sucked into these processes of trying to figure out, who is corrupt and who is not corrupt, why they are not looking at the bigger picture, why we got where we got to in the first place. Like our leaders going overseas for treatment or traveling just for the sake of it. And they don't care about security. They don't care about this in our national defense. They don't care about us as a sovereign entity. And I saw when the U.S. ambassador or someone from the U.S. embassy came to your channel, he was condescending the way he was speaking to you people. And it looks like he was briefed on the idea that you will have tough questioning for him, and you sounded as if you were pulling back. What I fear is that in Nigeria, because this is going to be a question soon, we are not confronting the real issues that are facing the country. We are not developed. We are not secure. We don't have transparency. I gather that you do address this idea of equity and proper civil behavior a lot. You advocate for anti-corruption stuff, but nobody's addressing the bigger issues. That is why we are bleeding. We are not a secure people. Logic dictates that we should be more secure. You believe in logic. Look at all the data around the world. It dictates that we are not secure as a nation. Not at all. Secondly, the resources that we have is being stolen from the country. That dictates that something needs to be done about it. Just last night, we were having a conversation. Why is it that our leaders are not leading when people are divided, people are polarized, nobody's making any statement? And we surmise that everybody's compromised, from the chiefs, religious leaders, all of them are compromised, including individuals, maybe even myself. How do we start digging ourselves out of this? And you are one of those people that have the mic and the ability to speak to thousands or maybe even millions of Nigerians every day. How do we start getting to the point where we start advocating ideas that are actually going to change things? Because if we keep doing this over and over again, we are not going to get anywhere. The whole world is moving on. So that's the question. How do we actually start digging ourselves out of these things? In terms of security, you believe in logic. In terms of our ability to protect ourselves from our wealth being stolen overseas, and our leaders breaching our security by flying overseas constantly. Thank you.
Thank you, Forefathers.
So if I wasn't doing that, I would not be here talking to you. The reason why I'm here logically is because I'm doing that. What we'll have to do is we have to keep talking. There is no country that is perfect all over the world. That's why you keep challenging norms. I can't change Nigeria. The best I can do is to challenge it. And that's all I'm doing. So when I challenge to a certain extent in my lifetime, we push on the baton to somebody else and we keep challenging it. And we can only keep on calling them to account. And for me, you said the American ambassador, not the American ambassador, the American new consular general came No, I didn't push back. I still asked my questions. Despite the fact that I was saying, no, there are some things that work in Nigeria, I still push back. I still ask my questions. Because there's a difference between diplomatic speak narrative and reality. So what we can always do is keep challenging the norm. I don't believe everybody has been compromised. No, not everybody. There are still a lot of people doing great stuff, speaking. For the fact that you're even passionate to come on this panel to speak means you still feel something about the country. So that's the logical disposition. Change of heart comes slow. You have to keep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, forefathers. Okija, you're next.
Hi, Rufai, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. And I want to tell you, please, you have to make our time to come and stay like 2 or 3 hours, please. We have a lot of fans here, and we thank you for what you did in Nigeria. Someone on Facebook, on Twitter was saying something about you. I think the lady that sang for Tinubu, she was saying that Rufai doesn't have anybody, and I said, Rufai, we have his back. So a lot of us, have your back. Speak the truth all the time. We support you, please. My question is this: if there is Tinubu's administration, God forbid, I mean the media that's channel got $5 million naira fine, and I know they'll be putting pressure on Arise to deal with you, and what I see is this, probably they're gonna be fining Arise, to deal with you. That's what I'm thinking. So have you thought about what the role of media would be in Tinubu's administration? And do you think that you would change, that they would tame you, from doing what you're supposed to do? Thank you. That's my question.
Anybody that thinks they'll tame the media is joking. The media is dynamic. You can't tame the media. Even Abacha with his gulag, archipelago, couldn't tame the media. So it will evolve. So all of those fears, yes, people might talk about them, but you can't stop the media. It has always been there. It will evolve and it will still form a veritable part of society despite whoever gets sworn in. But the sad reality, I will also tell you based on fact, you're saying God forbid, barring any legal encumbrances, Tinubu will be sworn on the 29th of May, which a lot of Nigerians will learn to live with. I don't know how to deceive people. So when it's sworn in, you will learn to live it. But it's a democracy, and there's still going to be freedom of speech, and there's still going to be institutions. The basis of our conversation in a democracy is because of the strength of the institution. And not everybody in the institutions will be hoodwinked. So it's not that it's going to become a pariah nation. No. People will stand up tall. People will have the conversations. It's as simple as that.
All right.
So it's not going to be doomed.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's go to Jude. Jude, you're next.
Hi, Rufai. You're welcome to the Damages show. And Dr. Damages, thank you for this opportunity once again. And thank you all our fellow panelists. Well, I want to first of all start by saying we appreciate the work you're doing so much. I, for one, I really admire your courage and your resilience, in spite of operating in such a toxic and hostile media hostile environment like we have in Nigeria. So I want you to know that there are millions of people that are behind you and that like the work you do and that pray every day that we wish we have 10 Rufais in Nigeria. Then the media landscape and in fact everything about Nigeria will change for the better. Having said that, I want to say that yes, I'm not a journalist, but I understand that the works of journalists, the ethics of journalists is to seek for truth and probe the truth and then report same, without compromise. But what we find in Nigeria is so many journalists out there. I don't know whether it's because of the so-called brown envelope they have all collected. They try to suppress the truth rather than, seeing themselves as the people that stand, that are kind of middleman between the people, the ordinary citizens, and those in governance, because we cannot reach them, but the medias can. And we depend on the media to probe these people and hold them accountable and make them sit up to be able to do the job for which we have asked them to go. We have hired them to go and do. But we find out that this is not the case. For instance, I want you to comment on I'm sure you would have seen the interview that Sheung had with Dati. To me, that interview, that the performance of Sheung was very absurd. It falls below journalistic ethics. Trying to suppress what was obvious. Even a blind man could see what Dati was saying, and he was trying to. I just want you to comment on that. Because I believe that media journalists should also hold themselves accountable. Like in my profession, we hold our peers accountable. Not just you coming. We hold our peers accountable to make sure that everybody is performing or upholding their ethics of professionalism.
Thank you, Joe.
So there are different media styles, and truth has to be told. A lot of people might not understand that styles differ. Mostly when you see somebody that is espousing a strong logic, as the interviewer, most times you try to push in an antagonistic logic. So some people might see that you're biased, but you're not biased. You're just trying to push an antagonistic logic to be able to sustain a very good argument. Because if most of the time in the conversation you have an acceptance of logic, then probably you don't have a show. So probably that's maybe what he was doing. But at the same time, there are some bounds that you must not cross. Because, so in case for a lot of people out there too, there's a broadcasting code of ethics for broadcast journalists that is made by the NBC. So pretty much these are the rules that when you violate them, you'll be fined and so charged for them. So there's a rule book. The rule book has to do with things about incitement and things that are not true, if you permit people to say them without a challenge. But the track back for me is that once somebody challenges them, then you should record it that they challenged them. But NBC goes ahead to fine. I think very soon NBC will be challenged in court because people will even have to check the jurisdiction of NBC to be able to fine people. I think it's a law court that should be able to fine people, not NBC. NBC could put forward an indictment, but I don't think they should be able to fine based on the laws of the land. But I think very soon people start challenging them. So I probably think, that's just a style. So when people do that, it's not that they don't believe in what you're saying or they don't believe that thing is crystal clear. But they are pretty much trying to say proof beyond reasonable doubt. And I want you to look at it this way. If that same person was doing that same accusatorial logic to be able to counter the logic of somebody you don't like, you call him a hero, isn't it? But because he's doing it against somebody you like, you call him a villain.
No.
They're different styles.
Well, I don't think any objective individual will do that. Personally, I wouldn't do that.
So there are different styles, and trust me, when you call it objectivity subject, so I'll give you one instance. I am not a supporter of the Labour Party. I don't support any political party. I have friends across board. I have tons of APC, PDP, Labour Party friends I talk to, but I don't support any political party. I interviewed the deputy governorship candidate of the Labour Party, and I quizzed her. And obviously, it was obvious she didn't know the manifesto. But I saw a lot of Labour Party people attacking me. And that day, I became a hero among the APC guys because they kept on sharing the video. The most important thing, any style you use, as long as you get out the facts possible from that conversation. So the question is, was the interviewee pushed to be able to espouse those ideas even more? Did the accusatorial style push him to speak more? And that's just it. Some people call it accusatorial, some people say it's plain devil's advocate. So most times it's not as a case of bias. But there are some cases that you know is a clear bias. There are some cases you know is a clear bias. When you know it's a clear bias is when people are coming to lie on the platform and you are not fact-checking them because it suits you. So you know there's a clear bias there.
All right.
So I think styles differ.
Thank you. Thank you, Jude. Ralph, next.
Hi, Rufai. Greetings, Rudolf, and everyone. Thank you for having me, and appreciate your work, Rufai. I always enjoy hearing you on Arise. So I don't really have a question. I just wanted to check. Do you listen to #Sisters-in-Law podcast?
No.
Okay. It's just something, a personal recommendation for you because I know you like data and you like history. So if you can listen to this Friday's episode, I think you will like what they have to say because it speaks to the type of things that I've heard you use on your broadcast. So
I'll look forward to it. I'll look forward to it. I want to learn. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all I just came to say. I appreciate your work. Keep doing what you're doing. And that's all.
You.
All right.
Bless you so much. I mean, #Sisters-in-Law. I'll look out for it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ralph. Mama Icho, you're next.
Finally, I've met my brother from another mother.
Mama Icho calls me every morning, every Sunday morning on my show from Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah, I say I wait to be there. Because what you present on Sunday, there are more than 1,001 Simon that will go and sit down in our regular churches to get. So that impacts my life and impacts the work I am doing. So thank you so much for being there for us. Thank you for giving us a voice. Thank you for being the big brother we can count on to fight this monster and rebuild a new Nigeria for ourselves. So my question is this. Based on what we know on the president-elect, and you've come to tell us the Constitution has not programmed us to wait to resolve this before he's sworn in. And looking at what his group of area boys have done in Lagos so far, my question is this. I don't trust him. He's a drug warlord, so I don't trust him. But the thing is this. My children are not going. I use the word my children because the youth population, I am their voice. My children will not take it lightly. So I'm not going to say no, they're not going to fight for their work. How are we going to trust the president-elect to let my children stand for what they know they worked for? Because the thing is this. I remember when Boo I call him, that is Buhari, it is Boo I call him. Boo came to US and he was asked, your youth population is increasing. What is your plan for them? And he was talking about climate change. So that was the day I knew that the Nigerian government does not have anything planned for the youth population. And that was what drove me to what I am doing today for the youth population. So my question is this. I hope they will let my children to protest neatly when they swear in because they not make provision. Because I do not want what happened in NSAS to happen to my children. Because if it does, the word that Nigeria is not looking for, we will get it all. Because the truth is this, they are smart, they are intelligent, they are brilliant, they are hardworking, they have resilient personality. But what we have not given to them is a platform to excel. We stole their destiny. We gave them poverty, lack, hopelessness, and they become Yahoo boys and girls. They become Olosho, they become kidnapper, they become all things that God did not create them to be. Now they say they are lazy. They work hard and choose a candidate of their choice, even though that is not my candidate. But because they chose him as a good mother, I supported them. Now they work hard. The man say, I'm not giving 50. They use their own strength, their own money to do the job. Why can't Nigeria government and INEC government give us the real result so that peace can reign? That is that.
Thank you, Mama Echo.
Mama Echo, good to see you again. I'm so happy. So a couple of things. We live in a rule-based society, and we need to follow the rules on ground. The legal system does not work based on evidence and facts. The candidates that feel disgruntled will have to prove in court beyond reasonable doubt why they should give them the case. And their lawyers, I'm sure, are working hard at it now. Couple of things we should push for are part of the things I said earlier in the Waste Commission report that says there should actually be a provision that all electoral cases are concluded before the president is sworn in. Secondly, people have the right to peaceful protests, and nobody can stop them as long as it's peaceful. Thirdly, the effect of war is not a good one. Because with wars, you know when it starts, but you don't know when it will end. So, I got a chance to meet a couple of Sierra Leonean and Liberian child soldiers. And many years after the war, they still tell me about their nightmares. It's not an easy thing. We fought a war over 50 years ago, but we are also dealing with the psychological effect of the war. I think the new war we fight is the war of the mindset and our thought process. Because that war is bigger than any physical war. And you see, it is the war of the mind that these politicians are fighting. That's why they are weaponizing poverty and deliberately suppressing the youth. So how can we counter it? By also giving the youth the capacity to be able to do great things. And within ourselves, open up opportunities for them. By giving the financial enablement to some of them to be able to do great things. Because if we do that, then we can truly build. It is time for Nigeria, I've always argued, to build an alternative economy from the central government economy, the economy of the young people. And funny enough, they're already doing that with the startups and all of that. But we can do more across board. And we can keep challenging the status quo. So I think those are the things we should be able to do. And because you didn't win now, does not mean you should not be persistent. So the question is, in the downcast moments, what are the plans? What are the advocacy that can be done leading up to the next election? After this election, we have discovered that even that Electoral Act is not perfect. So how quick are we advocating for the things we want them to change in the Electoral Act? Because take, for instance, I'll tell you one. We need the Electoral Act to be able to say that there must be a transfer to IRF. That part that they say INEC may choose its own method, we must be able to strike out that part. So these are the new advocacy we should be doing. As regards ensuring that it is a technological process. So it could be that advocacy you will lead. All right. Also, we must be able to have an Electoral Act that determines what are the difference between even guidelines and laws. Because those are the problems. And if we go through all of this and we know this, these are the things you see that the court brings out and they call technicalities. So it is a continuous work with CSO, civil society, young people, and all of that. But the way to be able to break young people free from poverty is credit, capital, credire, like it's called. So that's how you can invest in ideas. And there's a lot that can be done in diaspora remittances and bringing people up and foreign capital.
Well, we are
All right,
working on
thank
that.
you.
We have our ADG Sport Academy that are in the process of taking some of our youngsters to Malaysia and Thailand. And we are working on many
so
other.
let's keep doing that. Okay, so
Thank you.
tell you what. Sorry, I just want to tell you this quick story. One of the things I did, I'm so sorry, just a tiny little bit.
No, it's okay.
So I many years ago, I used to do something called the Empowerment Series. I still do it pretty much. So every year I speak abroad, I speak all over the world. And I called something the Empowerment Bank. So what I was doing was, as at 2014, 2015, I was in a soft empowerment loan. All right? I was in a soft empowerment loan of 20,000 naira for roadside food vendors to be able to buy inventories. And guess what? It so helped them that they paid the money back every week. And we turned the money around like 4 or 5 times. And you'll be amazed at the impact of what little credit can do. I mean, like I told you, Oga Rudolf, Mama HQ knows about our radio station in Lagos. There's so much we're using to do to empower on Voice of the People Radio, empower small businesses. So there's so much. So we can aggregate ourselves on that while government keeps doing the shenanigans.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's go to Igbo Basics. Please, if you can go straight to the question, that will help us to get to many people. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolf.
Bless you, sir.
And Oseni.
Bless you, sir.
You don't climb an Iroko tree twice. And you and Rudolf Okonkwo, I classify you guys as far as character and integrity. You are the Iroko trees. So, in a nutshell, this is what I present you today. A color note. Having said that, I'm going to come at it from the perspective of ethnic bedding, which is one of our topic here. First, at igbobasics.com, which is our publication since 1995 in the United States. Our motto there is that we are custodians of the conscience. So we'll come at it from that perspective. And at basicsexpress.com, we say we don't break news. We do not break news. With all that said, why I classify you and Rudolf into the categories of people like Mazi Okono, people like James Iroha, people like Chief Zebrudayo Korigwenwobe, people like Clarus Mbojikwe. These are giants in our community, in our society. So I go straight to my question today is, as far as ethnic baiting is concerned, General Gowon had told us no victor, no vanquish when the war ended. So, is our guest still there?
Go ahead. I believe it's here. Yeah, it's the light. Okay. Yeah,
so, as a matter of public policy, do you feel that the Nigerian state has worked or is working in good faith to re-assimilate the Southeasterners and the Igbo population? And if that be the case, because I mentioned all those other giant names, what can we do to honor the likes of Chief Zebrudayo Okonkwo, Alliance 430, because you guys will soon join them in the study of people of integrity?
Thank you so much. Very good question. I said something about a war earlier on, that the most debilitating part of every war is the psychological effects. And really, I feel very sad that the Biafra War happened. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Because not every brave heart mends. And I don't think the government has done enough to be able to heal this. And to a large extent, we've constantly mismanaged our diversity, which is supposed to be our strength. And it's the offshoot of what we're seeing today. Truth has to be told. The fault lines are very deep. And that's why we truly hope and envisage that we'll have a society where we can truly have these conversations with a view to healing. I think healing starts from acceptance. Honestly, that's what I think.
All right.
Oseni, while you are there this morning,
No.
on breakfast table, I found myself singing, "We shall soon go back to the jungle, where mosquitoes are biting." And my daughter asked me, "Why are you singing war songs?" That is the psychological impact of what we are feeling. I'm on a second missionary journey here. What can we do? And don't negate that Zebediah question, because you guys will soon join them.
No, I think we should have a society that gives due recognition to people. But it is also sad that when you look at the structure of our states, who are those we recognize? Just look at the honors list. Do we truly celebrate our heroes? But until we come to acceptance that hurts have been perpetrated in the past, then we can't move forward. So I just hope that any incumbent government does it. I saw a question here I'd like to tackle.
Yeah. Is that one on the comment?
Yeah, the question said, I function based on hearsay journalism. I don't function based on hearsay journalism. You see, in asking questions, there's something called weighted opinions. So when I say people say, I might not be able to give precisely the name, but they are weighted opinions. And those opinions are for you to be able to react to espouse logic. So sometimes you can use weighted opinions. You can also put in your opinion as a weighted opinion. Then you can put facts and percentile distribution and all sorts of statistical analysis also in your questioning line. So when I say people say, it doesn't mean that it's just manufactured. It's a collective opinion, it's a weighted opinion. I might not have the precise name of the person that said it then, but definitely it's a weighted opinion, and it has to be part of the conversation.
All right, thank you.
Thousand logic, everything comes in. Even weighted opinions and sentiments too comes in.
Thank you, Rufai. Okay, Prince, you're next.
Good morning, Dr. Damages, and good morning, Rufai.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be on this program, meeting you. Of a truth, I don't really have any question to ask you. Rather, I am full of, encomiums, and praises, being the fact that I love what you do. I follow you, even on your Twitter, and keep doing what you do. It's only in Nigeria that you see people talk about, against journalists. In other climes, in everywhere where we are, you have a preference of who you listen to, if they're saying the truth and what you believe in. And of truth, most people believe in you. Keep doing the work, keep up the good work, and don't ever think about the threats. I will not say it's empty, but it's nothing. Better name is greater than wealth. That's all I can say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prince. Let's go to Ike. Ike, you're next.
Thank you, Rudolph, for giving me an opportunity. And Rufai, I'm happy to be here because when I wake up in the morning in Texas, what I'm waiting for, because when I watch that, it gives me an insight of what is happening currently in Nigerian realm. I'm one of the people that believe in Nigeria. I live in US. I go to Nigeria 4 or 5 times a year, except last year and except this year. The reason why this year I do missionary I do health mission in Nigeria myself. I host it, I pay for it, I take care of it. But this year I didn't do it because of the election, because I normally do it in February and March. But for me, as I look forward to all those things, one of the things I notice about Nigerian media is that you guys don't do what Americans do. Pull archive and say, this is what you said this time. Why did you change? Because there is nothing that makes somebody feel ashamed is when you pull an archive of what they have done in the past and ask them, why are you changing from what you have done in the past? So I think it's a good idea, not only saying you said, but we play it for you to show you that we see you when you said it. Why don't you guys practice like this? I know that it takes a little bit longer, but in American society, once you change, and they will play that archive, and all of a sudden you find yourself not being able to defend what you said in the past and what you're saying now. So for me, that is the question I like for you to answer. But at the same time, I'm happy to be here. I'm at work, but I said I must come to talk to you. You're my hero. I believe in what you say because you say it the way it is, without no apologies. And you don't see a lot of journalists in Nigeria doing that anymore because everybody have been bought, and we don't believe when they say the truth and when what they believe anymore because of they are all bought. But continue doing what you're doing. Continue believing yourself. Continue putting it out there. And if there is anything you do and you solicitate to help to do your cause, I would love to be part of it whenever. That is just me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you so much. So we pull up a lot of archival materials too. We might not be able to have precisely the video because archiving is a big problem in this country. I think the best archive we have to date is YouTube. If not for YouTube, sometimes I wanted to get some old reel tapes of the NTA in the 70s. And trust me, when I tried going for it and I saw the states those tapes were, it was shocking. So archiving is a very big problem. And most of the archiving pretty much that I recorded material started around 2006, 2007, 2008. And that's why when you even check online with newspapers in Nigeria, I think the only newspaper that has one of the longest archives is Sahara Reporters, because Sahara started archiving around 06, 07. Most other papers, traditional papers, got online 2010 thereabout. So it's a big problem. But it's a big industry itself. There are people that just deal with archives alone in America. And obviously, the budgets are bigger, obviously. So take, for instance, Fox News. So let me give you this illustration. Because I do a lot of work around American media too, as a media entrepreneur and all of that. On Sean Hannity's show on Fox, a minute of primetime jingle, is about $20,000. On Sean Hannity's show, yeah. And on a good day, you might have a couple of ads. But in Nigeria, that $20,000 might be the revenue of a station in a month. So budgets differ. But it's also something we can build capacity. And that's why once we deepen media, they were able to build that capacity and get more of these archival materials. But I give it to you, archiving is a big problem, very big problem. It's something I'd looked at a point and all of that, it's something I really wanted to do. In fact, at some point, I tried pulling bond members, Association of Nigerian members, and Microsoft Azure into a room to have a meeting on how they can have a cloud system to archive, but it never worked out. But you're correct. We can improve about it. It's a feedback we'll take.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Odi, you're next.
Rufai,
Malga,
I'm very happy to meet you finally and talk to you. Dr. Damages, thank you for making it possible. I hope you know that you're fast becoming an icon, for the youth, national icon for the youth of Nigeria. And which is really, the youth is Nigeria, right?
I'm
And,
not the Rufai.
huh?
I'm not the icon. I just be Rufai.
No, you're becoming, the truth is anybody can vilify you, but you're quickly becoming, and people have better be careful. One of the things I wanted to talk about is your, well-being and security, Nigeria is a funny place when people say go to court, because when people say go to court, there's something there. When MC Olomo says, we're gonna attack you, they will attack you, So I know that you do your due diligence, but we would like you to stay there for us. Nigeria is a country where there's no opposition, right? You're not a perfect man, I'm not, nobody is, right? But we need, you talked about your YouTube station, which I watch everything about you. I follow you on Twitter and all that, like my friend, I was going to open by saying that I hope I get enough time to speak because I have a lot of things to unpack this morning, So, one of the things, sorry, Dr. Damages, I like to talk about the wiretaps on Peter Obi, which is this should be the real story. I think we are all talking about whether what he said was right or wrong. We all have private conversations that if we reveal, or if it's revealed, we are going to be very embarrassed. I think that's what the question is: who tapped him? This is illegal, obviously. Trust me. Many people have said so many things about the Muslim ticket. Obvious, in the open. You can imagine how many phone calls went back and forth. And if those are revealed, Nigeria will probably go in flames. And, if someone decided to go and pick up this, because I know that this will be the news tomorrow, and you guys will be on talking about it. But the idea, this is like the idea of Trump and Hillary Clinton. Let's equivocate both. The idea of the server is equal to, doing illegal campaign contribution and espionage. I don't think, because the idea is, Peter Obi does bad too. He's not a perfect man, but the idea is, who is wiretapping who? For me, that's the question that you journalists should be asking. And because if this is allowed to scale through, trust me, people in Nigeria have escaped, but people in Nigeria will be in trouble, because you can't have any freedom of speech anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Odi.
No, and I think when I commented on that, I talked about the fact that private conversations, you should not have a third party that intrudes on private conversations to the extent of recording them. All right, and I think it's time we start to exercise those laws in Nigeria. I'm sure you remember the case of, it was wiretapping that brought down one of the oldest newspapers in the world called News of the World. There was a girl that died, Millie Dowler, and in a bit of getting information and story, they tapped into a what's it called now? Voicemail. And the inquiry went on, and the inquiry brought down News of the World. News of the World doesn't exist today again. So I think it's incumbent on people to test it in the law court, because people too, actually need to test this in the law court. And this was, and you see, when I talk about logic, I know what I'm saying. This was what I expected Mr. Fayashe to answer me when I asked him the question about his recorded call. I expected Fayashe to say, but do you know that was even illegal, that anybody had taped me and all of that, and I was going to test it out in courts and move on and answer all that questions rather than attacking me. All right? So, truth has to be told. That's a very good part of it, and I espoused it before. And also, I'm going to espouse it tomorrow when the issue is brought in front of me. You know, because we can't build a society where people are taped and all that. Because everybody can be taped. And trust me, I've been on the receiving end of it. Trust me. I'm sure you saw a story that went viral. Anyway, I have said I'm not going to respond to the same character we all know. So that kept on fighting me after an interview. So you get a lot of this. But I've seen how people, get calls at the back, record and cut some portions out, and they start to act all sorts. But I think that's a good conversation to have.
All right. Thank you, Odi. Rufai, there's a question. I just showed it on the screen. It says basically whether you are interested in running for political office.
I just want to be a journalist. I don't know. I don't know what the future will hold for me, but I just want to be a journalist. But with the madness now, obviously, it's not on my horizon. I want a place where I can espouse good ideas. I want to build a lot of media, structure, because I think we don't even have enough yet. And we're building. And the TV, the radio station is not only online, it's on terrestrial radio, actually. So it costs a lot to run. We are actually on a dial in Lagos, 90.3 FM. So it's on your real radio, apart from being on YouTube. So it's, maintenance costs and things. Let's build more media outlets. But I don't know what my future holds, but I'm not thinking about running or office now. No.
All right, let's go to Henry. Henry, you're next.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Rudolph. Mr. Rufai. I mean, I'm one of your biggest fans. I'm really happy to talk to you live right now. I don't have too much questions to ask. I just want to thank you for the good job you're doing. I wish we can have journalists like this, outspoken journalists like this. It could be better. Nigeria could be better. It's going to be better. My question is, the NBC, why they don't give the journalists free hands to go beyond sometimes?
Very good question.
Yeah, because sometimes it's disgusting when I hear when they say they sanction this newspaper, TV house, radio station. It's like the journalists they're not going over, because journalists are the eyes of the people. Because we are not seeing what is going on. We're supposed to have investigation journalists. Okay, they can go beyond what we cannot see. But it's like people have to come together to fight against this oppression from the NBC. Because it's not a pain under Nigeria. It's not a pain us we that live in the Western country. It's not the internet. We could not be getting some information about what is going on in Nigeria. And 1 minute, please, Mr. Rudolph, please. MC Oluomo make a comment a day before the election, and the next day it happened. What are the DSS waiting for? Are they working for are they doing the job for the Agberos now? Because they are using the Agberos to do the dirty job. Now they are using the DSS.
All right, that wasn't the one that that got him off. I think
it's like the DSS is doing the dirty job from the Agberos these days. I don't know why they cannot arrest this MC Oluomo. Why?
I mean, sad reality. But I wanted to say something about the NBC. So I think the structure of the NBC today is not sustainable in a democracy. Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida put out the laws to be able to have private broadcasting pretty much in 1993. And that was when they set up the National Broadcasting Commission, which was sort of military-esque in the charter that sets it up. A government regulatory body that had little or no level of independence, but dependence on the government itself to be able to regulate broadcasters. So it was a military mindset of, we will still use the NBC to rein them in, despite the fact that we're giving them license for private radio stations. I think what should be done is the law should be looked at again, and the NBC should have a commission that is headed by different sections of the society, which include civil society groups, women groups, youth groups, and various stakeholders And they should vote before they can issue out sanctions and review every alleged infraction possible.
Yeah.
And the chairman of the commission should be subjected to the decisions of the commission itself. That's where you can have true independence. As the NBC is today, is not independence.
Yeah.
And it will only get worse because anybody that comes in, we only use it as a tool to fight people because it doesn't favor them. And this has always been in my argument. And you see, the very funny thing about the chairman of such commission is that whoever is the Minister of Information just comes and uses them and dumps them in the end. I don't want to mention one of the former bosses of the NBC. What happened to him? He thought he was trying to satisfy them during ENSA. In the end, they didn't retain him. They sent him away. So what should be done is you should have a commission that has a representative of different groups. And I think that model, I think I read about it in the law books in Ghana. So that's how you can have robust media. But if you don't have it that way, you just have people that listens to the say-so of the minister. Because we've had occasions where the minister says, oh, find those people. And they've started finding, I mean, I don't just want to be hysterical. The fines have started going around. And we must not have the government be the one to control. You must have an independent body that controls the regulation of media. My thoughts about the NBC. MCO, it goes back to the pick and choose thing I talk about. And we can't build a society of fairness that way.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to Femi. Femi, you're next.
Bless you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Rufai, my own Dude Miami of journalism. Quickly, so it was Malcolm X that said something about how if we're not careful, we must be careful of the fact that the newspapers might actually have us hating the people that are actually being oppressed and loving the people who are actually doing the oppression itself. And Paulo Freire, I think that's the name, also mentioned something about the oppressed, instead of striving for liberation, tend themselves to become the oppressors. The reason why I go with these two quotes is because of the general situation of things as they stand now. And of course, you've also mentioned the kids that you spoke to in the years following or the decades following the Sri Lankan war. And of course, if we also, by extension, look at how the what turned out to be the genocide of was it 95 or thereabout in Rwanda started with just two groups, just two ethnic groups. It was like a joke. You never would have imagined such a thing happening in Rwanda until it happened. The reason why I ask is because of what we see right now, especially in the aftermath of our so-called election, and nobody prays for it to happen, but the signs are definitely ominous, and it continues. I was wondering what your opinion to what may happen afterwards in the light of all of the various, if you will, innuendos that have been flying around in the media amongst people like FFT, Oluomo, and what have you. What your opinion and what your fears about what may happen or what may not happen are. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, and that's why I keep saying people should cool things down. So, another thing is that I have a very funny streak. Most of my friends are from the age of 70, 80 upwards. So my father died at the age of 86. By default, I'm just friends with lots of very old people. So my very dear friend, I mean, he's just a neighbor. And my father, sort of, Dr. Yemi Ogubi, I mean, top journalist, chief of Daily Times at the point, We were talking last week, and I love conversations. I love to talk to people. And he was telling me how he was in boarding school when all the fights around the 1964 elections between Akintola and Awolowo started. And he said he was in school, boarding school in Ibadan, and he knew that there was going to be a war the way they were going, how they were burning each other's homes in what they call the wear tier, where they were pouring petrol on each other's homes. And we all saw what snowballed to, that 5 majors picked that up and they said, okay, let's stop all this rubbish the politicians are doing. And remember what happened with Cardinal Zego and Ife Juna and the likes. That's why I keep saying we should calm down. We forget in a hurry that the events that led to the Civil War started after a very fraudulently held elections on the 30th of December 1964. We forget that all of the events around the lack of peace after those elections that were flawed in 64. You know, if you remember, some regions actually boycotted those elections. The elections started in 64, some were held in 65. I don't agree. And those were the events that led to things, you know, steaming up to a particular point that the 5 majors, Kaduna, Zego, and Ifejuna, you know, attacked. And Ifejuna, I think one of them wrote a book on why we struck. I think it was Ifejuna's book. So we must just be careful. Let's cool things down. Let's argue our case out. Let's hope on the courts. If we're going to have protests, let's have peaceful protests. But we can't afford to throw our country away. Because in the end, it is the only country we have. Look at what's happening in Kenya today. I had to send my another very dear friend of mine, Professor Otieno Lumumba, a message. And I said, you know what, please intervene in what's happening in Kenya. And he had even intervened before that time. After the elections have been lost in courts, Raila still feels disgruntled. And because there's a cost of living crisis, now there are protests. You see the killings, the destruction on Northland buildings, the farm of Uhuru Kenyatta, and the killings in general. It's so bad now. And Raila Odinga is saying that on Monday again, there's going to be another mass protest. The last time they said they were going to storm the state. Kenya is in a state of chaos. I was supposed to be with a friend of mine that is a business leader in Kenya. I can't get into Kenya. Please, let's calm things down. I beg all of us. And I just hope those leaders remember history. Please, I beg.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rufai. Matt, you're next.
Hey, Mr. Rufai, God bless you. God bless you. Mr. Rudolf, God bless you too. You are the giant of the media with my Oga Rufai. I followed you this morning. In fact, you made me not to go to church where I was in your ministry today. I was blessed. I was blessed. I was doing something, but I enjoyed it all through. You know, so you are a blessing to Nigeria, to humanity. Even I thought maybe it's only new, broadcasting that you concentrated on doing. But I found out that you are doing other things, which you mentioned that morning, which is great. I mean, it was great to hear such things from you. And God will bless you, keep blessing you. I love people who live by saying the truth, who believe in truth. That is what that can save us, in this evil, state that we find out. But there is something you mentioned, which I want to ask, and I didn't know about that. But it was about Stafford. An evidence was gathered by the governor candidate who lost the election or whatsoever. I don't know. Hello, is he still there?
I think he's not here, but he can hear.
Okay now. Yeah, and okay. and he gathered the evidence, and police came to arrest them, took the evidence, arrested the lawyer. I mean, in this kind of situation, what kind of country are we on? What kind of thing is happening? They released them finally, and they held back the evidence. They released them. Why don't you release them with the evidence? Because they are going to use it in the law, in the court. So I want to know what are the state of things now over the court based on the evidence. You know how the court. Are they still going to release this evidence completely so that these people can use it to do their finding? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I got an update on that. So I wanted to interview Tonya Cole, the APC government candidate, but he wasn't connecting. But after I finished the show, then he called me back. So he narrated what happened. Arrested their lawyers. Most of the depositions they had prepared for the tribunal on Monday, they took it with the lawyers. They released the lawyers, but he said, "Oh, he wants the evidence and all the legal briefs they had prepared." But he said no, that he has to go and call INEC. So they didn't give it to him yesterday, which obviously I'm sure that they had copied it and seen all the case they want to push in there. And I'm sure they have advantage now, the opposition party. But when he called me, he said they had told him to go and call INEC to verify what they have before they can let go of it. So I've not called him to get a follow-up. But at that time, he said he was going there, that he had called the INEC record state and he was driving there when he called me. So, but I've not gotten a follow-up as regards that.
All right, thank you, Mark. Similarly, Eunice.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Thank you for having me. And to our Honorable Rufai, you're welcome. You inspire me because of your guts. I have a question, and I'm going to link them. I'll try my best. Okay, so do you think that the Nigerian media is biased, choosing what to report to the public or not, where the owners of the media conglomerate, crush, or acquire the media solely for their personal portfolio? And as a result, how can journalism in Nigeria be improved to better serve the Nigerian public, north, south, east, and west, to inspire and stimulate public interest and trust, integrity, truthfulness, fairness, independence, and accountability? So the media in Nigeria, the way I see the news, is not balanced. Sometimes it seems as if the news around Nigeria is underreported. What are the things to be done to improve such situations, to bring all the things to balance everything around within Nigeria? Thank you.
Very good, very good stuff. And you observe rightly. Truth has to be told. The solution to the problem is to be able to have more people that are sticklers for the truth do media, to have more outlets. And that's why my passion is about creating outlets. And it is bias. Some media. I won't tell the name of the media. There was a TV station where you can figure it out. There was a TV station that was fined. All right. Why are you guys laughing already? I can see your faces. You're laughing. There was a TV station that was fined. And what NBC complained was that in their news bulletin, they took 17 APC stories and 3 PDP stories. 17 APC stories. And 3. You're laughing. I can see somebody laughing at it. 17 APC stories and 3 stories from the other media for a 20 news item bulletin. 17 APC stories leading up to the elections. And even the NBC was surprised that, Jesus Christ, what level of imbalance report?
So why is that?
He that pays the piper dictates the tune. And that's why, for you to be able to counter that, you must have more media stations in place.
Yes.
So that when you see that somebody is skewing the narrative because somebody's paying the piper, then you can challenge that. Simple as ABC. And that's why, I think it was Senator Oseni that gave some people that were ranting at us the best answer. When they said, we're not going to watch Arise. Arise is biased because we say it the way it is. They said, go and watch Maggie cooking show on NTA, It's as simple as that. That's just it. So multiplicity of media is what will deliver our society. Multiplicity of media is what will deliver. But there is a lot of bias. Just imagine that a news bulletin, 17 stories for one party, 3 for the others. But we must be able to get regulators to account better. So I was in France once during the election.
All right. So we will work on them. So,
Nepa, don't take light. You better come back.
Hi, come back, please. I have not introduced myself to you properly.
Do you
know that? I hold you responsible because you did not place the link on
Don't hold me responsible. I forgot to introduce myself to you. My name is Lucia, and I am the founder and a cosmetic formulator at Isbury London. So I use Isbury as I come here now to showcase, that young people should not lose focus. As a Nigerian, I have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to Dr. Berichi. The connection, his connection is not very good.
I need to be in a meeting now.
All right. So, Rufai, can you hear me?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, can I just think about can we just give everybody the chance to ask their questions, so and I just do like a summary answer,
because
I don't want to do that. Yeah, so everybody just maybe few comments, questions, because I need to be somewhere now, and the person that just called me, that was why the line was flickering.
All right, bye-bye.
So I ended up, bless you so much. I ended up doing more than 90 minutes. You can see, Ogami, I gave extra time.
I know. I really appreciate that.
2 hours.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay, so what we're going to do, Dr. Berichi, if you can hear me, your question, and then we take everybody in the studio, and then that's it. Berichi, you're first.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can
you hear me? Yeah, I mean, I don't really have, I wouldn't really waste the time of the panel, except to say that Rufai is somebody I follow a lot, and I admire his work, and just to ask him to keep doing what he does. That's all I have to say.
Bless you. Bless you, Dr. Berichi. Bless you, sir.
Okay. Paul, you're next.
Okay. First of all, Rufai, thank you very much. The first Rufai will have used to keep everything to himself. That's the Peter Rufai. But now when we have you, you used to bring everything out. That's a great job you're doing. And Rufai, I want to ask you, when you were worried, do you eat Madiga?
Yes, now.
And you don't talk about that for TV.
No, say I work for GFM. I worked in GFM radio. It was the first private radio station with my boss then, Chief George Ugen, of blessed memory. In fact, he told me to run the station after he passed. I've not just had the money, and I've just been stretched financially, but I'm working out on resuscitating the station, because that was the first private radio station in Delta State, one of the first in the South. And we did a lot of good work in that radio.
Yeah, great that you understand, you know Madiga. Rufai, so my this is now my opinion. It's not a question to you, and also it sounds like question also. The biggest influencer negatively in our country today is the religion cycle, precisely the Christians and the Muslims. But I hardly get in any TV radio stations that even talk about our traditional institutions. The churches are not helping issues, particularly this election time. The mosques, the so-called Islam, the Muslims, they are not helping issues. But you guys hardly talk about that. You guys paint them also like they are also the devil, that we don't even want to talk about the devil. We talk about all the pastors' prophecies and the Islam and every other thing. That is even dividing us more. I want to ask for you guys to still talk more about that. That's my take.
Okay, it's a feedback. We'll take it. It's a feedback. We'll take it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you,
Ngozi, can you next?
Okay, Dr. Damages, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Rufai. Thank you very much for the fire. I follow you on Twitter and I enjoy your backbone. So I wanted to ask that I have a question. I know you worked as a radio presenter for a long time and now as a broadcast journalist. I just wanted to ask you the difference with the guests you have. Which do you think, which platform do you think gets out there more, and which is easier to have these people come on? Because it seems that a lot of them run away from coming on TV interviews, but go on radio interviews. Which one reaches out to people more, and which ones are politicians more interested on coming on to, and why do you think that is?
All right, thank you.
Every platform is great and it reaches out to people. Why TV reaches out more in Nigeria is because with DSTV and decoders, you can have a network. But in places like America, radio is a big deal. Look at people like Rush Limbaugh. Was never really doing a lot of TV. It was majorly radio. Because you have a network. So the problem with Nigeria is that there are not too many licenses where you can have a networked radio show all over the country. In fact, I've been trying to push for that, and it's been difficult to get it. I hear they don't normally just give it to you like that. I think it's probably only the NTAs of this world that have like the network service where every station hooks up to. So both platforms are great, but I think TV pretty much reaches out more because it's sort of like network. So you can watch AriseTV in Lagos and in Abuja and anywhere, but in radio, except you stream live, you get. So I think it's just a network synergy thing.
Right.
But I enjoy both formats. I love both formats. But like I tell people, I'm a radio man, proper radio man to the hilt.
Thank you. Thank you, Ngazika. Loco P.
Let me boss laugh first. Thank God. First time seeing you face to face. Thank God they're here. Dr. Rudolf, I forgive for you today. I will not forgive you to say I don't follow you the talk. Okay, pick one so that I'll save your time. When you said the media cannot be stopped here by anybody, I will beg to differ a little bit, right? I would say the media under NBC, you understand? Apart from you, because maybe Arise is still watching their back, so to speak. But every other TV media in Nigeria, I think they are compromised. Apart from you, then and also think one thing you should also do as a journalist. I think. Oh, sorry. Let me come. Judiciary is the number one problem of Nigeria. One, right? Then the second problem of Nigeria is the journalists, you guys, the media, journalists. And I think because you are the ones we watch, right? They say seeing is believing. I want to say TV media is somehow has upper hand than radio media. You believe in what you see rather than what you hear. You understand? So I want to say you guys should always, flog issues. Nigeria has this situation whereby they talk about negative issue for a short while and they forget about it, waiting for the next propaganda, waiting for the next issue to talk about. But I think journalism should be done the way American does their own. Like you said, archiving. When you bring stories that has not been completed, you bring it back to the fore so we will talk about it and like, oh, this is this and this is that. You know what I'm saying? But in Nigeria, you talk about issue once, only you, and forget about it. You understand? Then we don't hold politicians to their words in the past. You understand? Like you said, archiving, you know, so I would really want to see what like journalists will always talk about issues all the time, hold politicians accountable. You know, I hope it's not gone. Hold politicians are accountable. What, Rudolph? I'm not hearing you. Okay.
No, I was saying that, you know, he has to go. He actually booked for 1 hour, and we've done more than 90 minutes. So he needed to.
Okay.
So that's
you have to bring it back. You have to bring it back.
Yeah. I'll try.
You have to not try.
Okay,
you have to. You must bring
okay.
it back.
I'll bring him back.
You must bring it back.
All right.
So Rocco, you managed to kick him out or something? Oh, sorry.
I didn't kick him. Okay, Obi, your question, so that he will take. He has to go. Obi, your question. Okay, he's gone.
Yeah. Good morning, Rufai, from this angle. I must say that I'm a fan of Arise News. I watch Arise News every day. So, and Arise News is no complete without the morning show crew. So, kudos to you guys. Let me use your tactics, Rufai. You are fond of quoting books and personality that you actually agree with to either support your question or your rebuttal. So, I don't know if you are familiar with a book called Manufacturing Consent by Professor Noam Chomsky and Edward Hammond. In that book, they come to the conclusion that the media is not a solid monolith, but it represents a debate between the powerful interests while ignoring perspective that challenge the fundamental premise of all the people. And as a fan of Arise, I have to say that within the last 1 year, or let's say the campaign period, they fit into what Noam Chomsky and Edward Hammond are saying, catering to the powerful interests. And it's so obvious in that of Arise that, because I run a small platform that a lot of people actually agree with the question I'm asking now. So, and it's not particular to you, but media in general. So, what do you think that is?
All right, thank you.
Or let's agree with what Noam and Hammond are saying in that their conclusion.
Rufai, we can't hear you if you're speaking. We can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. No, and you're not. Oh, you're muted. Oh no, you're muted. Okay, go ahead. Try again. No, we still can't hear you.
Rufai is on Obedient Network.
All right. Maybe you can log in and then you can say bye. I know you have to really go. I appreciate the time you spent over.
Oh my God, Rudolph, you are a corporate. I'm calling the media out now. You conspire with him. I
will not forgive you.
That's a media question. I mean, you.
No, I didn't.
Rudolph.
No, he tried.
No, he tried, and
he tried at least 90 minutes to 2 hours. Tried.
Yeah, no, actually,
Adewale was here for 9 hours now. How is he? I don't understand.
I know, probably he had something engagement before.
Yeah, this guy has to work now.
Exactly. He has engagement before now. He just squeezed them.
You can go and bring Adewale now. Politics have ended.
For politics, they can be there for hours. It's not easy to be on national television every day.
It's not.
Hold on, guys. I think he wants.
Oh, he's still here. He's still here.
He wants to say bye or something.
Yeah.
Let me get one of you guys out and let him say.
Kick Mama out.
Go.
Now who they match that kind of break? I leave church today. I leave church like I did for this program. You got a press button. Take time,
Hello.
Rufai, let me.
Hold on. Let's
Rufai,
let him say.
Let me ask you a personal question.
No, wait. Now make you answer the question where they answer first now. Sure.
Am I talking to you? Rufai, let me ask you a personal question.
I'm just saying that he has a question to answer.
Can you hear me?
I'm just saying. Let me ask Rufai a personal question.
Okay. So as I was saying, I said Nomchos. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So, Chomsky has got his own views. But one thing I can tell you for free is that media itself is always contention of ideas. And when you look at it, it's a reflection of the as in society. That's what make up our narrative base. So if Nomchosky talks about the contention, it's indeed a contention. But the most is what constitutes truth. Some people will say it's base, some people will say it's narrative base. Is visible and clear. It's not alternative reality like Kelly and Conway. It's not. In there, there is a focal point of the truth. And I think to strive as possible to uphold. And it's out there. And as journalists, we're much as possible to find it. We keep inquiring. So we put a strong down. Must always talk about an instance. I remember when NSAS happened. There was no controversy in my mind. Sanwo-Olu asked to come and arise. The first question was, who ordered them to choose? Simple as that. Because people had died tremendously. And somebody ordered them to turn off the light, be taken. So that was something we can't do away from. That's an inquiry for the truth. People will push you away and say, no, you have no right not to ask and everything, but we have to. Because for every, like somebody was saying here, media is bad. For every time we fight or we kill a story, then it becomes problematic. But I think the modern thing, and one other part I'm looking at to disrupt is the agenda. For too long in Nigeria, it is the newspapers that set the agenda. Not newspapers. It's mostly based on the reaction of what is talked about in the newspaper that most TV stations pick up the stories and talk from. I think the next frontier for broadcast journalists is to be able to have their own setting of the agenda. So it doesn't have to be, okay, what the newspapers are saying in the morning that we have for. Because when you look at the topic of discussion that cascades into radio and television, is the topics that talk. And you can't forget the fact that those editors have their own biases. Except the only media now that is constantly now changing that agenda setting is media. But everybody must be able to execute their own agenda based on the fact of what is. So in all fairness, I think we have not stories well enough. I know we would like to research more, but it's because of the resource. The investigative journalism we are doing in this country is piecemeal because there's no budget for it. You can't, you see, a lot of people keep saying, oh, Al Jazeera did a report. You want to compare Nigeria with Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera's budget in a year is over $200 million. Al Jazeera's budget in a year run every media house in Nigeria put together for one station. That's why we can't do in-depth investigative journalism. So the costs are there. Can we keep improving upon it? Yes. Compare with the BBC. I mean, I do a lot of stuff with the BBC. I was in Portland. We used to have 6,000 members of staff. That the radio license fee is over $200-300 million. Let's not deceive ourselves. This is real money. Ego, yabara. Ego, money. You can't be there without money. You need a war chest. Let's not deceive ourselves. How much is advertising revenue? How much advertising revenue? Total advertising spend for television media
Don't worry.
is not up to 100.
Me and my children.
Mama, may you and your children keep 1 year waiting in the
Wait.
Rufai,
Me and my children go work. See this area when you identify, we go invest.
So, amen, man. So we need better money. Amen, man. I say not be my money, not be business. Well, for you
Don't
to get
worry,
it
I dey raise brigade, I dey raise Elon Musk. We go do and a new Nigeria we won't build for ourselves and our children. So it go work
Amen.
for our lifetime. Amen.
Yes. It go happen. Okay, make I just quickly talk this one. I'm saying real money. I'm saying, okay, I'll give you. I was in England. Take care. I was in England. There was this TV station that started. It's called GB News, a right wing, very small TV station.
Yes, I do.
Top capital raise was over $70 million US. And guess what? Bill, they are still going to raise more money. 70 million start raise. Series A, not on Series C. They are still going to raise money. 70 million. So it's something that is capital intensive. But I believe we can get there if we keep ourselves. So we need critical investments, honestly. Critical investments. So most of those things they are seeing they were not able to do. They must fetch. How much advert they fetch? So you need critical money. It's just as simple as that. See, the money where Hannity, they collect alone in salary from Hannity a year is about half of the advertising revenue in Nigeria. Sean Hannity is on like $60 million, between $50 to $60 million thereabouts. Even this babe, we tackle Trump, Meghan Kelly, when she go NBC, I heard like $60 million. $60 million is like close to half of the advertising revenue in Nigeria. So when people they talk all those things, oh, you can't campaign effectively. If the resource is there, if people really get the money to take to the media, then you'll be able to expand. You know, because I can tell you this, because I'm also an entrepreneur in the business. I know the business in and out. I've built stations. I know the cost end. I know what it is like to pay salaries. So I can tell you, so I have requisite information. And I know the revenue projections. It's not as grand as most of the time it's a labor of love. Most of the time I use money out of my own pocket to take pay for people. So some of the facts. But we have to keep pushing. And we cannot relent. And out of the little we have, we still do. So thank you guys so much. I really need to run now. I need to go as I am. They don't call me tired. Bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rufai.
We go revive that radio station for Delta State to Rufai. We go revive that our own radio station for Delta State.
All right. Thank you so much.
If I get the money, I go down. I'm not getting money now.
No,
please, Rufai, I hope you come back again.
I wish I had opportunity of hitting Rufai one question.
Rufai, where is Tundu?
He will be back.
Don't be like Rufai. What Tundu said?
Tundu is taking a break. Tundu is taking a break.
He's
taking a break off media.
Okay, Libya. And see, when you send this message to her, please tell her to always smile. Like OG, please. Tell her to always smile. Her face, the key, the spirit for that place. I beg, tell them. Everybody will complain.
All right, Rufai, thank you so much.
He was once a professional scholar. Our job was to smile.
All right, thank you.
Okay, what do you job not to smile?
I appreciate you.
Don't not to squeeze face.
We'll be
Bless
right
you.
back.
As a model, you have to learn how to smile by all means.
I know that to face. Wait. I bless artist. No, come on.
There was really not much time to talk to Rufai, and
And Mama won't provoke me this morning. Mama, hold your side, though.
Relax first.
Mama.
Relax first.
Now only you walk out.
Take it easy now. Come on.
Hey, leave me and Mama now. Leave me and my Mama.
I know now, but take it easy.